Further debate. Member from Thunder Bay, Atikokan.
Speaker, thank you very much. I'm pleased to enter the debate today here this afternoon. I've been around most of the afternoon and have heard much of what has been said so far on the budget bill. And I don't mind saying I think it's actually been one of the better debates that I've heard in my time here, and so I'm actually pleased to venture into it this afternoon with my 20 minutes. As is no surprise, I don't think, to most, the opposition is using their time to continue their focus to try and polarize the electorate on one issue, and that being energy costs in the province of Ontario. That is fine. That is their strategy. They are looking to make that the ballot question going forward in October of next year, 2011. We've seen that be the pattern for the last 2 or 3 months, and I don't imagine that's going to change until we rise from this place next spring. They will continue to talk about energy. That'll be what it is that they want the public to go walk into the polling booth on next October. Speaker, I'm not sure if that's good, bad, or indifferent. If I was a member of the opposition, I would think I'd want to expand my platform and my policies a bit beyond that and give people a reason to vote for me rather than a reason just to simply vote against the other guy. But we'll see what comes from them over the course of the next 8 years. As we know, on energy, neither opposition party has yet put forward a plan. At some point, they're going to have to do that, and quite frankly, their discussion on energy in the House is full of contradictions, in my opinion, but there'll be an opportunity to speak on that as we go forward. What they want to do also, Speaker, as they focus the people of the province of Ontario on energy and energy only as we go forward into an election next year, is get them to forget about everything else that has been good, in my opinion, that's been accomplished by this government since we were elected in 2003. And I can just highlight 3 very quickly. They don't want people in the province of Ontario to remember, and I think every member in this place could list a series of examples, that this is a government that has spent $60 billion or close to it on infrastructure since we came to government in 2003. We came to government in 2003, we very clearly articulated that we saw infrastructure as one of 3 things that we thought were in a deficit position in the province, and long before there was a recession, we had made a decision through Renew Ontario that we would contribute $30 billion to infrastructure in the province of Ontario. We did that, and we followed it up with another $27 billion. And there's nobody in this place who hasn't been a beneficiary of those investments. There's nobody in this place who can't speak to hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs being created through those infrastructure investments. And I speak to this often because I can tell you the small communities in my riding of Thunder Bay, Atikokan, communities like Conmee and O'Connor and Gillies and Nebing and Oliver Papoonge, small communities with a huge land mass but a very small tax base, those are the people that we help the most. 2 things would have happened. A, they simply could never have afforded to do the infrastructure projects that we helped them with, or B, they would have done them at a great expense on their residential property tax base, because those communities that I just listed off in my riding of Thunder Bay, Atikokan, many of them do not have large industrials within their tax base. It's almost all primarily residential. And as I said, a very small residential base scattered over a large landmass. They wouldn't have been able to afford it. Infrastructure, almost $60 billion. The NDP and the Conservatives don't want anybody in the province to remember that. They want you to forget about it. They want you to just think about energy. How about education? I was just glancing at the clippings today, or I don't know if it was on the weekend. Ontario rated, if not the best, one of the best places in the world to have your students, to have your children go to school. One of the best public education systems in the world. Go back to 2003 when we arrived here. What was the situation then? That's another thing that the NDP and the Conservatives don't want the people of the province of Ontario to remember. I can tell you the parents who have young children in the school, parent in school systems, parents who have kids in post-secondary, the teachers and everybody involved in education, I think they're going to remember that when they go to the polls next year. It won't just be about energy for them. What about health care? They don't want anybody to think about health care either. I could sit here and use all my 20 minutes and another 20 on top of that talking about the improvements in health care, not only in the province of Ontario, but in my riding of Thunder Bay, Atikokan. Some of my proudest moments in my 7 years representing my constituency has been being able to show up and make announcements relative to healthcare improvements, not only in my community, sometimes specifically my community of Thunder Bay, but oftentimes for the province as a whole. Just last week, I was at Sunnybrook. We were video linked back to Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centre, and we announced that Sunnybrook and Thunder Bay will be the first two places in Canada to have a machine called HIFU, H-I-F-U, High Intensity Focused Ultrasound. They are now going to begin trials doing surgery with a beam of light that will require no scalpel, no anesthetic, no needles, no nothing. They're doing the trials right now. That's happening in Thunder Bay. Healthcare in the province of Ontario is leaps and bounds ahead of where it was in 2003. But of course, the NDP and the Conservatives don't want to talk about that. I get it. They only want to talk about energy. But I think we've got about 10 months as Liberals to remind people what we've done. And we'll compare our records, and I think we'll compare our records very favorably to the administrations of 90 to 95 under the NDP and 95 to 2003 under the Progressive Conservatives. I look forward to that debate, actually. Speaker, when it comes to energy rates, as I said at the beginning, that's a lot of what's been talked about. There still continues to be in this place this assertion that it is energy prices that cause the loss of manufacturing jobs in the province of Ontario. Again, I could talk for 40 minutes or an hour on this. It has been one of the best misdirection plays that I've ever witnessed in my life, and I will give some credit to the former leader of the NDP for pulling it off. He managed over the last 4 or 5 or 6 years to convince the people in the province of Ontario that electricity rates were the reason why every large industrial in the province of Ontario was closing and leaving Ontario. It is absolutely ridiculous. But that's not the focus of the discussion today. That's not the focus. I've talked about it before on here, what happened, not to mention currency and global competition and declining markets and a credit crisis, and on it goes, but that's a little bit too complicated for some people to talk about. They just want to talk about energy. Completely misleading the people in the province when they say that is the reason why manufacturing left. My goodness, come on, Speaker. We all know better than that. We all know better than that. One example, one mill in my riding, Abitibi-Bowater, 1 cent appreciation in the value of the Canadian dollar, 1 penny is a $3 to $4 million expense for them. Only at one mill. Only at one mill. $3 to $4 million. When we were elected in 2003, the currency was 73 cents. It peaked out at at $1.10. Now it's at about $1. That's 27 cents times 3 or 4 million annually into their bottom line costs. And that's what they're saying has nothing to do with the...
Excuse me for a second, if you could stop the clock, please. I hear a BlackBerry, it's buzzing. I'm asking members to check that their devices are off. Point of order, Timmins James Bay.
Steve, that sounded like the horn. You know when you get that call, says boop, you've run.
It's not a point of order. Thank you very much. Member from Thunder Bay, Atikokan has the floor. Thank you.
And so on the large industrial file, we have many of our large industrials who are very happy now with the programs that we've brought forward on energy, the $20 per megawatt hour that was announced in the spring budget, as well as fixing the global adjustment part of the energy bills, and we'll be making more announcements on that in the not-too-distant future. Very happy to announce as well with Abitibi-Bowater in Thunder Bay that through a lot of great work by a lot of people, the pension piece has been accommodated. They're coming out of bankruptcy. We expect to see a great announcement from them in the very near future relative to a cogeneration plant at that mill, a major multi-million-dollar investment, securing the jobs at that mill, and a lot of good work has gone into that over the last time. Speaker, on the energy file, as others have talked at length, I have to mention as well the Ontario Clean Energy Benefit, a 10% reduction on your total electricity bill. Very proud of that, and I want to thank all members of Northern Caucus especially. I know others have said they've been working on it for a long time, and maybe they have. But I can tell you that Northern Caucus has been on this for quite some time. I'm very proud of the work that we've done on this. I'm happy that we've brought it in. Now, it's a little interesting now to sit back and watch. You don't expect that anybody's ever going to say, you did good, you did right. You always wonder how they're going to try and change the channel and what they're going to move on to next. And it seems like, at least in regard to this one, at least some members of the third party are pretending like it never happened, although I would say to the member from Timmins James Bay, he did acknowledge it, and I thank him for that, although there is at least one other member of your caucus who is pretending like it didn't happen and holding rallies to as much say as much. I actually kind of found it a little bit funny when I saw it on the news the other day. Speaker, we'll get back to the energy piece in a little bit, but I do want to talk generally